Hello everyone, my name is Tier Garner, and in this presentation I will be analyzing case number 3 from the BUD textbook titled Safety Gloves Discharged Just 'Cause Analysis. This case focused on a labor relation dispute involving a termination of an employee. I will be analyzing this case from the perspective of a labor relations manager and determining whether the company had just cause to discharge the employee. We're going to move on to the next slide. Labor relations disputes often occur when employees challenge disciplinary decisions made by management. In unionized workplaces, these disciplinary actions must meet the standard of just cause, which ensures the discipline is fair, reasonable, and supported by evidence. The principle of the just cause is commonly used in labor arbitration and helps protect employees from unfair discipline while allowing employers to enforce workplace policies. In this case, the key question is whether the recycling company had just cause to terminate Aaron after repeated violations of workplace safety rules. All right, we're going to move on to the next slide. Role in the case. In this case, I'm assuming the role of the labor relations manager at the recycling company. The labor relations manager is responsible for ensuring that disciplinary decisions are consistent with the collective bargaining agreement and established labor relations practices. From the perspective, it is necessary to evaluate whether management follows proper procedures and whether the employee's actions justify the termination. Based on the evidence presented in this case, I will argue that the company did have just cause to terminate Aaron. We're going to move on to the next slide. Maybe. The case background. Aaron worked at the Los Angeles facility of the recycling company and had approximately 20 years seniority. Her job involved handling bundles of newsprint and occasionally sorting materials such as bottles and cans. Many of these materials contained sharp edges or broken glass, which created a risk. Because of these hazards, the company required employees to wear protective safety gloves when performing certain tasks. However, Erin frequently chose not to wear the gloves because she felt it made her work less efficient. The prior discipline. Before the termination occurred, Erin had already received several warnings from management regarding safety violations. According to the case, the general manager had multiple conversations with her about workplace performance and safety concerns. Eventually, Erin received a 3-day suspension, and the disciplinary notice clearly warned that any further violation within 12 months could lead to termination. This type of disciplinary process is known as progressive discipline, which gives employees multiple opportunities to correct their behavior before stronger disciplinary actions are taken. The final incident. On December 9th, Erin was performing her regular duties when an unexpected delivery of recyclable materials arrived. She began sorting the bottles, cans, and paper without wearing her safety gloves. Other employees were wearing their gloves, but Erin had left hers in her pickup truck. When the supervisor noticed the violation, she was instructed to retrieve the gloves. She worked She returned shortly and continued working while wearing them. However, the supervisor determined that the violation had already occurred and that disciplinary action was necessary. We're gonna go to the next one. Contact provisions. The collective bargaining agreement contains several provisions relevant to this case. First, the argument states that disciplinary actions must be based on just and significant cause. Second, employees are required to follow plant rules and regulations. These provisions establish management's authority to enforce workplace safety policies and take disciplinary actions when employees fail to comply with these rules. Because safety rules exist to prevent injuries, they are often strictly enforced in hazardous work environments. The just cause. Several factors support the conclusion that the company had just cause for the termination. First, the safety rule requiring gloves was clearly established. Second, Aaron had received multiple prior warnings and a suspension regarding the safety violation. Third, she was aware of the rule and the consequences of violating it. Finally, the violation created a potential safety hazard since broken glass and sharp materials can cause serious injury. Because progressive discipline had already been applied, management had a reasonable basis for the termination. Plan of action. Although the termination may be justified, organizations should still work to improve workplace safety and communication. Management should continue providing safety training and ensure that all employees understand workplace safety rules. It is also helpful to post safety policies in multiple languages and provide additional reminders about required protective equipment. Clear documentation of disciplinary actions should be maintained to ensure fairness and consistency in future cases. In conclusion, the recycling company had just cause to terminate Aaron. The safety rule requiring protective gloves was clearly established and necessary to prevent workplace injury. Aaron had received multiple warnings and a suspension, but continued violating the safety policy. Because workplace safety is critical responsibility for both employees and employers, management decision to terminate her employment was justified and consistent with labor principles. Thank you very much.